This is true evidence that Mary Jane, now we ain't new to this. For my stoners and for my cannabis enthusiasts, never heard a show as good as this. Yeah, number one, it's the best. Bringing in many special guests in the industry of cannabis. Business owners to growers, even artists you know of. So sit back and just roll up the perfect show for my smokers, true buds.
Oh yeah, baby. Light one up. Do whatever you're feeling today. Drink a brew like we're doing right now. Cheers, Bryce.
Hey, cheers, brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Heck
Good
yeah.
to have you here today in this
Thank
little
you.
mock-up studio.
I'm pumped to be here, man. We've been talking about this for a while.
I
so
know. It's been
here we go.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you, man.
Appreciate it.
We're about to dive into some really cool shit that I wanted to have Bryce here because we started talking cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
trading currencies,
Yeah.
and I'm like, bro, let's kind of just chill here for a second because I want everybody to learn, because I'm gonna probably watch this shit like 2 or 3 times to see what's going on in the game, because
Cool.
I've dabbled a little bit with stocks, but not on the, like, what you were saying is kind of like an everyday type thing. You got to
Yeah.
if you're trading currencies, it's not like, oh, I'll sit on it, or you could.
Well, you could. There's a lot of different options, but more than anything, a lot of times people hear the word like crypto or cryptocurrency, and either immediately like blow it off, or they think it's a scam or something.
It's intimidating
like
to me.
It is intimidating. It was to me too. It's one of those things that you just don't know enough. It's like the deep blue sea, right? Everyone's terrified because we just don't know what's
For
beneath,
real,
right?
huh?
It's very similar, but it's more important than ever today. So the people who actually take a moment to learn about it are going to put themselves in a good position. And like, it's going to happen. It's already happening. So people need to learn about it, whether they want to or not. So I'm excited to be here. Kind of fill some people in.
Hey, man. Thank
Yeah.
you for being here again.
Absolutely.
And just before we hop in,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about this LEVO II here. The basically the future almost of infusion, all in
Okay.
like one machine here. Have you ever cooked edibles before?
I have not. No,
Never.
never.
Yeah. So, and it's
I'm too
like
lazy.
I'm
Too
well, that too,
lazy.
but like the currency too, it could be intimidating, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why this thing I think is gonna freaking kind of change the marketplace, is because right here you can do an all-in-one. Pop this open, it decarbs your bud and infuses it at the same time.
Okay.
So kind of an all-in-one gadget here, man. Who was that? Somebody walking down here. That's what happens when you're shooting in the basement randomly.
I'll take a drink for that.
Yeah, for real. Oh yeah, so lost my train of thought, but I'm loving this thing. But the most important thing that I wanted to bring up about this is that I'm doing a giveaway for it.
Nice. Wait, so how exactly does it work?
So I'm still learning, but basically what you would do is go like this. So say I was doing weed. Say I had a 1/4 ounce,
Okay.
because that's what this looks like. It fits you. Pop this baby open right here.
Okay.
You fill this up. This is a little pod, they call it. So I'd put the bud in here, not too tight so the oil can still infuse good. Put this on. It's magnetic. It clips right back in.
Nice.
And then I would go ahead, close this. And on the front, I would say activate. So I'd put it on 240 degrees I haven't done it yet, but usually I do about an hour, or 220 degrees for an hour, 240 degrees for like 40 minutes.
Okay.
After that, simply add the oil for however long you want to do it. I'm kind of a thinker, the longer the better sometimes. And then you
Sure.
simply dispense it.
It just comes right out.
Comes right out, and then you just throw this shit in the dishwasher. So
Wow.
it takes away putting stuff in the oven, preheating your oven. I have a gas oven, and so like it can be really janky, and like it can
Right.
go all of a sudden up to like 260 because I put a thermometer in there. So like I think this is going to take out a lot of the guesswork, a lot of the like,
Nice.
intimidation of people making edibles and shit. So
Well, and you can leave it on your kitchen and everyone thinks it's a Keurig.
yeah.
So nobody,
And-
nobody even knows.
Well, and the dope thing though is like you could use it for any oil. You could take like a almond oil and infuse it with like some herb that's good for you, or you think, and use it as like for ladies with makeup or for your own topicals and shit. So it's really endless.
so you could even do
possibilities.
like a rosemary infused olive oil.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like
That's
chefs
sweet.
are gonna love this shit. Like
Wow.
so this is on the come up, man. And if you want one, just comment on the video, the unboxing video, how you would use the LEVO II. And you can just make it funny, make it real, whatever you want. Just make a comment how you would like to use this. You're entered in the giveaway, and then I'll be in contact with them. Tell them you won, and they'll ship this out to your house, and you have your own LEVO II sitting on your counter ready to infuse shit, man.
Dude, that's what's up. I'm definitely getting in the giveaway. So hopefully, hopefully nobody else comments on it.
Dude, that'd be hilarious.
That's awesome.
That'd be awesome too if a bunch of people comment and you still won.
Well, hopefully, who knows?
Well,
We'll see.
you know what's funny and the crazy thing about other giveaways I've done
Yeah.
is that, like, of course, like I have my good friends and the family will, want, like, they'll comment and whatever, but like
Yeah.
they haven't won yet. I don't think any like close friend or family members won a giveaway, but that's cool too. Is spreading the love out
That's right. That's
because
right.
all the true buds are true friends. You know what I'm saying?
If you friended True Buzz, you're a friend of mine.
For real, man.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Seriously, get part of this giveaway. Check it out. Links below for the video, and if you just want to buy it, I'll put a link too. But
Nice.
let's dive into the real deal here, man.
Let's do it, brother.
How did you get started with currencies and trading? Was it like
Oh,
stocks
man.
at first? What like?
That's a really good question, Juice. So, oh, by the way, I called you Juice.
Oh shoot!
Some people might
Let's bring
not
this
know.
up.
Jack and I go way back, actually, to 2009, freshman year, University of Kansas. We met, and somehow, some way, Juice, I think from like Juicy Jack or Juicy J or something, it just stuck. So, anyways, if you don't know who Juice is, now you do.
Hey, juice right here, baby.
That's the juice. But no, cryptos is kind of a wild game, to be totally honest with you. I actually don't remember what I did first, crypto or stocks. I honestly don't remember. I think they're pretty close at the same time, but I remember reading about Bitcoin on, I don't know if it was some business magazine or I really don't remember where I saw it, but this was years ago, like 2013, something like that. I think I read about it for a split second, paid it no attention, went right over it. And then, of course, fast forward and wow, I should have slowed down, right, and paid attention. But I think my first time actually putting even a single dollar into crypto was probably 2016 or 2017. At the time, I had no idea really what I was doing. I said a really good friend, he said, yo, do you have $150 to blow? I was like, well, on what? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you should buy this digital thing called like a digital cryptocurrency. And I was like, well, how does it work? And he's like, I have no clue. But he's like, if you got nothing else better to spend it on and you don't really care if you lose it, you should just buy it. And it was my buddy John, and is a guy I really respected. He's a smart dude.
Was that our mutual friend, John?
Johnny Hammersticks.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
That's what's up.
Johnny Hammersticks. So he told me about it for real. He was actually in Europe. He was traveling Europe at the time. He's like, yo, this is all the talk over here. You should just put $150 in and see what happens. I was like, okay, cool. So I did it, and it just totally opened me up to the whole idea. And that's when I really started delving into like, what is going on here? Why is it going on? And that was really the start.
So kind of why is it going on? Just people want a free base like economic system where it's not like
Juice. That's honestly it sounds like a really simple question, but it's actually a really educated question. So the question was, why? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And to the people who are learning about cryptos maybe for the first time, who don't know anything about it, because a lot of times people, they don't even know what it is. They have no clue.
No.
They're like, oh, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. I don't really know what that is.
Especially older people, probably older than us, especially.
Oh, yeah,
like
they have no
parents and shit. Like
90. I'd be shocked if it's higher, or I'm sorry, under 95% that have absolutely no clue. Because I've talked to quite a few people about it, and they have absolutely no clue. They laugh at it. They think it's fake. They think it's a scam. All of this stuff. So I'll start here, and honestly, this is how the podcast should begin and end. So if you think about money, right? Like, what do you think of when you think of money?
I think of cash instantly. It was my first thing.
Exactly. Me too. Dollar bills.
Yes.
All the dollar bill. Right? So if you think about this, obviously, we're U.S. citizens. So our first thought, we're thinking about American dollar bills, seeing George Washington's, all of that kind of stuff, right? Well, if you really look at it, like, what is that? That is known as fiat, just F-I-A-T, fiat currency, which just means it's somewhat controlled or distributed by some kind of government, or some kind of central union, states, countries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's called fiat currencies. Well, what's really interesting is in 1971, it's true, anyone can look this up. In 1971, Richard Nixon basically removed the US dollar from the gold standard.
Oh, I heard about that.
This is
well, that's what kind of made
This is
things
crucial.
kind of fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was the start. So I mean, literally, as soon as that happened, true economists at that time would have known to like fast forward the issues we'd be in. And the reason why is because it's by design. So if you think about it, you really have to slow down to really understand what's happening. So if you think about that, the gold standard means that if a bank, gave out $1 million, that means they had some kind of $1 million of currency in reserve
in a vault somewhere
in the form of gold, right? Or something. At the time it was all gold, but sometimes you could substitute, other silvers or precious commodities, right? But generally speaking, it was gold. Well, in 71, Nixon removed us from that. The reasoning behind it, there's a ton of conspiracy theories. I won't go into that because no one really knows the answer. There's a lot of speculation.
I was gonna ask, but I do have a question.
Yeah.
Do you, obviously it made things crazy, but that could also probably never be sustainable though, right?
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not by design.
So
by design, it's not. So this is the number one thing I was gonna say. Like, I really encourage people who are like want to learn about crypto. This is the only line that you need to understand. Fiat currencies, if they're not tied to any backing, such as the gold standard, that means by design they're inflationary. They will inflate. It will create inflation. The reason why is because there's no set supply, right? So people hear these terms like money printing or quantitative easing or the QE that the Fed does. This means that they have unlimited power to print as much money as you want.
That blows my mind.
Right.
Sorry if I'm jumping in, but like,
no, you're good.
That's just that I wonder from the outside. I'm like, how does this work, dude? Like,
oh yeah,
we just print shit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, 100%. As much as they want, 100%. Yeah. So that's called quantitative easing, is the real term they use, just so people don't understand what's going on. But it's just printing money. So if you think about fiat currencies that aren't attached to any backing, those are inflationary by design. That means that at any point, by design, they can increase the supply, right? So you think about like basic economics, if you have supply and demand, right? Well, if the supply goes way up, but the demand stays the same, you have inflation because there's so much of it. So the value of your dollar goes down because there's more of it now. That makes sense? Is the best way to look at it. So it's like, some people are like, well, is inflation actually real? But then I'm like, well, do you know how much, a cheeseburger used to cost at McDonald's? Like, oh yeah, way back in the day, it was like 20 cents, right? They're not 20 cents anymore. That's the clearest example of inflation at its finest. Nothing's changed except for printing.
Well, that too. And I feel like this is a good time to talk about it too, with all this stimulus shit, right?
Oh yeah.
So
it's more printing at its
just kind of
finest.
To the extreme.
It's just inflating the bubble higher. Inflation is,
Well, do you see a point when the bubble's going to pop? And if it pops, you'll be on, you don't think so?
Not unless they want it to. That's what it is. So the reason, this is getting a little bit deeper than I thought we would be going economically, but this is good. This is good stuff to know. And this is just my personal opinion. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving advice. I'm just well studied on this.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's why I'm asking.
I appreciate it, brother. But no, so if you think about it, the way they can get around a lot of this stuff is they can print as much as they want. Number one is because we're the de facto currency of the world. So like, for example, OPEC, which is like, the oil and shit like that. So if someone's going to buy international goods, they have to do it using US dollars. That means we have the de facto currency.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Before us, it was the UK. They had the de facto currency. And then before them, I believe it was Portugal. And I forget the one before that. But basically, it's usually like every 100, 110, 150 years, there's usually some kind of shift in economic power where whoever's in charge, like really of the free world, such as the US right now, they put their money into the de facto currency. That's the same reason why we can set these types of, like, if you think like Iran, right? These types of countries where the US like, oh, we're going to try to shut down their economy. I forget the word that they put on them. They put on, the word.
Well, like,
it's not terrorist, but they basically put, sanctions. They go, we're going to put the heaviest amount of economic sanctions against a country. Well, how does that work? The US has a dollar. Iran has their own dollar. How does that work? It works because the US controls the de facto currency. everything runs through it. So when you're the de facto currency, you have such control over the world that's not even funny. Whoever runs the currency runs the world, period. That's just how the world works when it comes to like the de facto stuff. So in regards to your question, I don't think it will pop. Well, obviously it could, but it really won't until the US wants to, but they're going to shift out of it way before, like through a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today, actually.
Well, and with that though, is like, who is it for the de facto place here? And me using terminology I'm literally just learning.
Yeah.
Would it be China's going to be the runner up? Who is like coming up? Like they're going to like take that spot.
Sure. I mean, China's definitely in number 2, and they have been for quite a while. You know, the majority of economists that I follow, you know, they've been talking about China for years, and it's probably still going to be China unless something crazy happens. You know, I mean, who knows? But what I was going to say, because this is really interesting, and these are some newer things I've been learning about. If you think about like interest rates, right? So if you think about it, if the US, this is some crazy stuff to think about, but like if anyone who got a mortgage in the 80s knows what I'm talking about, their interest rate was 12%, 17% for a mortgage. That was totally standard.
That was normal?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Sounds like student loan just bending over.
Absolutely, man. Right over the barrel, baby. Hope you're flexible, Jack. But you think about, you know, rates. So for example, the US government, you know, interest rates are artificially set to 0 right now at the federal level. So what that means is you can print, let's just make it really simple, $1 trillion at 0%. Well, you can take that $1 trillion and pay off debt in the past that was maybe at 15%. Right? So now the money you just took for $1 trillion, you spent that on old debt, right? But now your new debt, it's the same amount of money, but there's no interest being bared because it's at 0%. So they like it's straight manipulation. So anyway, so to go back to the main point, because there's some deep rabbit holes that we can get
I'm
down.
sorry if I'm taking it down.
No. We can go for, I'm saying we go for a long time because there's a lot to it. And I do encourage people to, you know, read, especially about the gold standard. 1971 set the precedent for everything we're going through today. And it's never going to stop unless something happens where we get a standard back.
What do you think, not to dive down another rabbit hole?
Yeah, you're good.
But what do you think could be a standard that's sustainable?
Cryptocurrency.
And that's,
I mean, I know it. And,
Okay.
I can actually explain it. So let's start with Bitcoin, because this is like the biggest name. You know, it's almost like a hot word, you know, as in Lil Wayne songs, you know.
That's the only one I know, really.
Sure.
You've told me about a couple the other
There's
night.
thousands.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, that's what you're
literally
telling me, like, dude,
thousands.
Yes.
But Bitcoin is crypto's the big boy, right?
Yeah.
It's the big one. So for example, Bitcoin has exactly 21 million Bitcoins in its entire supply. It's a set supply. Okay. So if you think about this, if there is, so let's go back to economics, right? So we were talking about the other inverse example. Let's talk about deflation, because this is so important. Anyone who understands this will immediately start investing in cryptocurrency after this podcast. I believe that, if they understand this, what we're about to talk about. So
Shit.
I really believe that. And if you don't, that's okay, but you won't forget this if you understand what we're about to talk about. So think about just, you know, supply and demand. So the first thing we were talking about was fiat currencies, right? Where the demand is, you know, maybe up and down a little bit, but generally speaking, the demand is pretty much set, right? It's going to fluctuate a little bit, but in quantitative easing or money printing, the supply just skyrockets, right? So now there's so much money where the value of the dollar has gone way down, which is why cheeseburgers used to cost 15 cents. America hasn't changed that much. It's still money, but why is it so much more now? Just because it's been inflated. Like, it's insane. If you look up the exact percentage, it's like 96% or something has been inflated away. So like our dollar now is worth like 4% of what a dollar used to be. It's some crazy stuff.
That's some nuts shit.
Oh yeah. And those numbers are going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. That's just the way it's set up, because by design it's inflationary. But if you think about cryptocurrencies, specific ones that have a set supply. So let's say Bitcoin, for example, same example, set supply. It never moves. It can't move by design.
Okay, I was about
and
to
I'll
say,
explain why.
So you said 21 million or something.
21 million
So-
is a set supply.
But it will never change.
It'll never
change.
Nope.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Even from like that, it seems to make perfect sense.
It does. So people who understand this truly will start buying Bitcoin, like 100%. Like I'm not even lying. So if you think about it, Bitcoin has a set supply, but as demand is the fluid handle, not the supply. The supply is always set. The demand can go up and down. And of course, as a lot of people probably know, if they've seen any business commercials or business shows or follow any business, Squawk Box or anything like that, they know demand for Bitcoin is very, very seriously growing very rapidly. So the value of Bitcoin absolutely will go up. So if you think about it, this is really like the one word, like the one line is that fiat currencies that are not backed by something are deflationary by design. But cryptocurrencies that have a set supply are deflationary by design. That's the only thing you really need to know to understand the concept.
And this might be kind of broad. So
no, you're good.
All cryptos are based on that?
No. Some cryptos have infinite.
Like the US, like the dollar.
Yeah. All that means is there's just an infinite supply. There's not a set supply.
Do you personally see value in this?
Yeah, it depends. Not nearly as much because it depends. So that's a slight. Before we move into that, I'll go into one more thing about this because this is so important.
So, see,
yeah,
I told you I'm gonna be shooting some.
No, dude.
But that's what
you're asking the right.
But that's where I feel like
questions.
I come in from somebody who's like an outsider, and
Yeah.
I'm just like asking what I think, and it might seem, take us down some other paths or
Which
seem
is
stupid,
good.
seem like
No.
almost stupid. But
no, dude, it's not stupid at all, man. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, cryptocurrencies are just starting to be taught. Like France, I know last year, they're like one of the first countries they implemented cryptocurrency as a mandatory learning in their high schools.
That's legit.
Yeah, there's cryptocurrency college courses you can take. There's an underlying, which we'll get into here in just a second, called blockchain technology. A lot of people have heard that term, but don't really know what it means. And blockchain technology, that is what's really expanding at like crazy galactic speeds. And so that's where most of the education is being reformed around. So, but yeah, I mean, most people today, if you live in a developed country, you can get a blockchain technology college career and you'll do very well. You're going to do very well as like a blockchain engineer.
Well, that makes sense too. Yeah, that sounds. It's.
Yeah,
I see it as the future. That's why I'm excited to talk to you right now. I'm like, damn, like
it is,
and you, and I love your knowledge on this shit, man. It goes deep, and
Thanks,
like,
man. Yeah.
I guess it's just kind of crazy to me. So Bitcoin started. Sorry, when did you say about?
No, you're good. So it really came out in about 2009. Like no one knows like the actual day. There was one email that was sent from a guy that he gave himself this thing called like Yakamoto. Like I forget. Everyone calls him like Sushi Yakamoto, but he has one of these like Japanese sounding names, and no one knows who he is. Still to this day, they don't know who he is. He's never been identified. Like still to this day, it's crazy. A lot of people think he's dead. Some people think he's still alive.
So from somebody, so from some outsider who would be like timid to invest because it seems scary.
Of course.
Like, what is there a way that the let's just put Bitcoin for example could break down? Like
really good
because
question.
I feel like there's probably a lot of fear in the investment, like we briefly
course.
touched on earlier.
Yeah, the main fear right now is around regulations. Like this year and last year have been the year of regulations. And those are some things I want to touch on. So a few of the things that like literally like something big, really big passed yesterday with like crypto banking, like actual banks can hold cryptocurrencies. Like the first crypto bank of Wyoming got approved like literally 7 days ago.
Oh shit.
This is September of 2020. Like this stuff is happening day by day. And so the regulations are paving the way for like big time investors. I'm talking like hedge funds and stuff. And this stuff is happening like literally as we speak. So that's like when I say, like when people say there's fear or like there's sentiment, like the sentiment is fear, they're usually referring to like in like big time hedge fund investors. But a lot of people our age are just, small time investors like, hey, I got an extra $50 a month. I want to throw it into something, right? Like small fish type of investors. We're more so just afraid because we just don't know what the hell's going on. Or can it be shut down? One thing is for damn sure, if Bitcoin could be shut down, it would have been a long time ago. They've tried, right? So the main thing we'll get into now, and so number one, the inflationary versus deflationary thing is the most pivotal thing that people should understand, period. If you understand that by design, like
you'll see the value in crypto.
Oh yeah.
Well, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, if you think about just knowing what you know now, let's say you were 1971 and you see Richard Nixon sign that, you know, instantaneously that eventually there's going to be a ridiculous breakdown because it's just not going to work by design.
Yeah.
Period. And so now you know that same thing about this, which is cool. So with the blockchain technology is what allows for there to be a set supply. Okay. Which is where I feel like maybe your question was leading or pertaining to. So the way it works, this is where things can get more complex. But to break it down really simply, the blockchain technology is not, okay. So blockchain technology is very simple. It only uses computers. There's nothing really centralized about it. There can be forms of centralization, but generally speaking, it's decentralized. So what that means is, so for example, let's say there is, God, what's the best way? It's a tough thing to describe because there's so many different variations of it. But long story short, they're a thing called nodes, Nodes. They're all over the world. There's tons and tons and tons of them. These are people, institutions who are providing computing power up to the blockchain. It's like the internet. Think about it like the internet. Okay, so let's just pretend like there's this blockchain of just like flowing energy, and on this energy transaction can happen. It's like a transaction windpipe of sorts, known as the blockchain. So if I wanted to send you $2 in Bitcoin, and let's say you were in France, I literally type a button, that $2 goes up to the blockchain. It's all run on by computers. No one controls it. There's no central party like a bank. It cuts out banks. Okay. So it literally goes from me up to the blockchain, and then it goes to you instantaneously. I mean, very, very quickly compared to what we're used to for extremely, extremely cheap fees, like micro fees. Like if anyone's ever used Western Union and sent, $500 to someone in a different country, your fees are like $50, $75. They're going to charge you 10 to 20% in fees. It's insane.
So
right?
What? It's a matter of time till PayPal gets on this shit.
PayPal is already getting in.
Okay.
Yeah, PayPal and Venmo are the next big ones. They've already announced it. You can look it up. Anyone can look it up.
But I guess what like my question earlier too, when you've addressed what I'm saying too, is like that an outsider who doesn't know. I think it's just like a fear thing.
Yeah,
you fear what you don't know kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I think part of it though, like, is like, could that almost cloud of information crash and be gone?
I mean, for that to, I mean, it's a really, really good question because I asked a lot of similar questions before, thinking about putting money into it. So I understand that. The number one thing you have to think about is it's not controlled by any one person, country, agency, anything like that. So no one person or one government. So if the US government said, hey, we're going to shut Bitcoin down, they can't do it. They tried. Everyone's tried. You know why they would try? Because this is a better.
Because they see the value.
Threat. Oh, yeah. This is a huge threat. It's a huge threat because it cuts out banks.
Well, and even on another level, I don't want to go down too different, but it almost sounds like a way to unite the world.
It's
like, not to get like too like, hippie on it, but like unite the world with the crypto, man. But like,
dude, you know
what I'm saying? Though? Like, it kind of makes sense like that though.
It puts people at a level playing field.
Everybody could kind of do the same thing, but at the same time, you got to buy crypto with a different currency, correct?
Well, you can get crypto in lots of ways. You can get it in lots and lots of ways. The main way of getting it is exchanging fiat currency for it. So if you're living in the US, obviously you're using the US dollar, maybe you're using the euro if you live in Europe, or maybe you're using the yen, or just Australian dollar, wherever you're at. But the same way you buy stocks, right? Like if you're a US citizen, let's say you're like, I'm gonna buy some Apple stocks. You're going to pick a broker. Let's just say like Charles Schwab, a name everybody knows. I put $500 into Charles Schwab, and then I'm going to exchange that. I'm going to tell my broker, hey, I want to exchange this $500 for $500 of Apple stock, and then you get this Apple stock in exchange, right? That process is identical. But rather than getting, Apple, you're just buying cryptocurrencies. Okay. So, but you're exchanging your fiat currency for it. You can also exchange your work for it. There are lots of websites you can actually go and do like online digital work, and they pay you in crypto. That's really common. People pay for a lot of stuff online in crypto. People don't think it, but they do a lot. So there's so many different ways you can get it.
Well, and I've seen it pop up in random places too. That's why I'm like excited to be talking about it, because I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like you're saying, it's the
Yeah.
fucking future, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's to be
Get with it or get left
to
behind
be
type
totally
shit.
blunt. It's already here.
Yeah.
Like it's already here.
Yeah.
The last. Long story short, I mean, it's already here. It's been here. There's a reason why it's worth $11,000 as of today. And that's down from 12,700 like 2 weeks ago. At one point it was at $20,000. So it's like, you think about what's changing here. The demand. That's it. The supply is set, right? The demand is what's growing.
So you could sell a piece of a Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Okay, because it's like so you could sell. So how does that break down? You could sell like 100th of it. Is there any break? You can make the breakdown whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it breaks down. I don't know how many zeros, but they're called satoshis. That's what they're literally called. It's based on Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator. That's his name or her name. We don't know. Right. But you can absolutely. So if Bitcoin is $10,000 today, and you're like, you know what? I got $10. Cool. Go buy a little piece of a Bitcoin. You can absolutely do that. And you can pay a little bit as well.
So it's never going to change. The 21
million is built into
set,
the code. It's
set.
computer code. It's computer code.
And nobody, so that, I guess that's the thing that's interesting to me too. So,
Yeah.
so that even the main person, Yakamoshi,
he couldn't even change it if he wanted to. Not one person can change it because now it's controlled by
everybody.
So, yeah, that's what's cool. I mean, it's a currency of the people. Like that sounds like a really cheesy like buzz coin, but it really is like an accurate term because it's spread out through so many nodes, which is basically just networks that are providing electricity to the blockchain. So if you've ever heard of something called like a miner, people who mine Bitcoin, some people have heard of this terminology.
I've heard of that, but
yeah. So basically these are people who are offering their computational power, like your computer power, to the blockchain to basically help solve, algorithms, very complex algorithms. People don't do this. Computers do this, like supercomputers do it. And you're talking like football field, long factories full of supercomputers. Like, this is serious. It's like out of the
when you said that, I'm
movies.
picturing like huge computers, like back in like.
They are, and they're literally, they have factories full of them.
And
Texas, China, they're everywhere.
So, what do you think was the? Do you think the person who started this?
Yeah.
Do you think they had a fat grip themselves of it? Like, were they selfless? Like,
That's a good question.
Like,
they definitely would have held. They definitely held on. And I know. So basically, anything on the blockchain. This is really cool. Okay, is that everything is done on a ledger. So if someone's familiar with trading, they may have heard of this term called a ledger before. A ledger is just like it's almost like a transaction history, like an activity. Like, oh, it went from this person to this person. That would be called a ledger. I bought and sold this. So someone's ever been on like a stock website on the right-hand side where it's showing all the bought and sold, it'd be like known as the ledger. So all of these things are tracked in the ledger. So I know they have the ability to go back and look at the first wallet, like the first crypto wallet, which is shown by a long sequence of numbers and, all this type of stuff. So they'd be able to see how many Bitcoins are in those like initial wallets. I've never gone back just because the knowledge doesn't really benefit me, but I'm sure they held on to a ton. But of course, at that time when they started, this thing was made up. It was just an idea. And the person really sent this idea out just like, hey, I've created this computer code. And theoretically, it's the perfect computer code for money because it's deflationary rather than inflationary. That's how it all started. This person just sent it out to a community of like developers and coders. And people saw it. And you think about it, in 2009, Jack.
I had a buddy who had a lot of it for cheap as fuck.
There you go. Hopefully he didn't lose it.
I don't think he sold it. He told me he wasn't going to. I haven't talked to him in like 5 years though.
Wow. Maybe he's on the beach.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I met him. We were in Hermosa Beach, dude.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Well, I knew him actually here in Kansas. He moved out. Shout out Johnny.
Hey.
I lived with him for a while, but he had some Bitcoin. Like,
Wow.
he was all. He's
well,
all.
don't drop a last name because anyone who holds Bitcoin, you don't talk about your Bitcoin.
Oh, that's rule number one. It's like Fight Club, huh?
I'm being serious, dude. If someone's sitting on a fat stack
Why
of
didn't you
Bitcoin and they're talking about it, that's stupid.
Why you can hack them or what?
Well, you can get their I mean, think about it. Your Bitcoin is stored. It's stored somewhere, right? So you can store you can store your cryptocurrencies in different places. Like, so for example, let's say you own an Apple stock and you're holding it in your Charles Schwab broker, right? Well, what if Charles Schwab gets hacked? What if they take your Apple stock? You'd be like, oh, that doesn't happen. Well, a lot of big companies have gotten hacked.
So where's the most secure place to keep it?
There is something called cold storage, which basically gives you the ability, you get like a jump drive looking thing. They're like these very hardcore, 100, something, a good one. You can get one for like $50. They go up to like $250, like little jump drives, but they're not jump drives. They look like jump drives, but they're not. There's
What
like,
if that gets destroyed? Is it gone?
No, it's not. It's not. You have something called a recovery seed where you can technically buy a new device and get it loaded up there as well. But that seed, as you can imagine, is very important. So that's something that you'd keep to yourself, memorize it, put it on inside your eyelids, whatever you got to do.
Tat it on your leg.
Oh yeah, brother. You keep that stuff secure, but you wouldn't want people getting your information. It's the same way. Someone's like, oh, by the way, I got $80,000 in my bank account. Like, you don't want to be talking about that, because let's say they're with you, they pull up your phone, you're sleeping, they do your face, they transfer money.
That's crazy.
I mean, oh yeah. Or they force you. Let's say they kidnap you. You never know. People are nuts and desperate. But to look back at 2009, talk about desperation. In 2009, people were fed up because big banks are just terrible with their monetary policy. They get bailed out, right? And that just drives everybody wild. And there's like this whole dystopia that was really built out during this time financially. And so people were fed up. And so this idea was, some people really argue that this person was so fed up that they decided, I'm going to do something about this. Some people think this has been in the works for 20 years just because of how genius it really is. And then boom, this happened. And they go, this is the perfect time. Because enough people will be so pissed off that people might gravitate towards this idea. A community of developers might get together and be like, wow, if we build this out, people will find value. And they did.
Well, I guess like I feel like I keep reiterating this is like, I guess that's the part that's like kind of even, just the kind of scary part, not necessarily even scary, but about investing in is because it's the unknown.
It is.
Whereas if you're buying silver, gold, or even, trading on the American dollar or euro, it's still being printed at the mint or whatever.
Right.
So there's this unknown, but that's the beauty of it too. But
yeah. Well, I mean, think about this, Jack. I mean, like my parents refuse to get Venmo. Venmo.
It sounds like my dad. Like I'm like, Dad, I need your social security number for this document. He's like, why? I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm like, bro,
I need it.
But now it's just so normal. Like, oh, fucking back in those you put that shit everywhere.
Everywhere. So I mean, but think about Venmo. I mean, this is actually a pretty decent example. I mean, really think about this. You're going, okay, Venmo. What the hell is a Venmo? What is this? Where is their building? I don't know. Are they like a legit company? I don't know. But you know what? My buddy used it. It was convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm going to download this random app called Venmo, and it's going to ask me to just basically just give my banking information. Think about it.
I see it. Yeah.
And now I'm sending money. If I click it, it takes money from my debit, right? From my debit account, my checking account, and sends it to your made up cloud called Venmo. And then you put it into your bank. So where's
the middle point?
Venmo. What's Venmo?
Do you know?
Some company. It's some kind of third party company.
Did PayPal buy Venmo, correct?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. I heard that. I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be a good purchase.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was a little sketched out too because, the reason I was weird because I was like, I was sending somebody money and I triple checked. I'm like, is this the right email, the right username? I mean, I'm not trying to send somebody a grip randomly.
Yeah. But you think about that now, you're given this random thing called Venmo access to your bank account. I mean, you don't think about it now. In the beginning, you maybe had that slight hesitation. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
But to be fully transparent too is I'd be thinking about it way more if I had tons of stacks in the bank.
Well, of course.
So that's why right now I'm not I'm okay, hack my fucking account, take whatever, it's Which
Yeah.
I'd be fucking pissed, but it's
Right.
not like I have like hundreds of G's stacked up, mills.
Right. But it's also worth noting that you and I are also both extremely born and blessed. I mean, when you're born in the world, you have about a 3% chance being born in the US. Okay. So you have to think about, we have FDIC insured bank accounts. You ask someone that same question who lives in Angola, in Africa, they're probably not so cool about, if they have $25 in the bank account, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
So my point is, like, we know that things can get refunded. Hey, bank, I got hacked. They just repay you because they're, so rich. So it's also, we have to keep in my personal opinion, crypto is really the best for people who are non-banked, the people who are the unbanked of the world, which is a massive amount of, it's like over 2 billion people don't have access to bank accounts.
And that's
Southeast
what I'm saying.
Asia,
It makes so much
Africa.
sense, like the universal aspect of it.
Yeah.
And also something of, we were talking bailouts a little while ago,
Yeah.
like it's going to happen again.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we're saying, it's not sustainable. So is it going to get bailed out again?
Of course.
It's fucking insane. That's why
Absolutely.
none of this shit makes sense to me. I'm like, how is this fucking possible?
Oh, I know. And I don't mean to get on a soapbox here, but it's like, you think about, have you ever
I do. No, I'm just kidding.
have you heard of Adam Locke? He was the big guy about capitalism. Maybe you read it. He had a thing called the invisible hand of capitalism. The whole idea is that you let capitalism take its course. He'd be turning over in his grave if he knew, there was a business. Oh, and guess what? They're terrible with their money policies, terrible with their lending practices, never's had enough saved, not even close. We're so over leveraged, they go out of business, and then you use the taxpayers' money to bail them out. That's not even capitalism.
And I could see what
That's like reverse capitalism.
And I was too young at the time to really give a shit.
Yeah.
But it affected my family fully because
Absolutely.
my parents at the time were trying to sell a house in New Jersey, and they ended up losing money on the bitch,
Yeah.
breaking even.
Yeah.
And they lived there for 15, 20 years. And it's like all this shit catches up and it's just insane, dude. Like what
Yeah.
like I don't know what's going to change. It's going to take literally a revolution.
A revolution.
Huh? Yeah.
And it's, I think people are very quick to forget. I mean, obviously, you and I are just talking about crypto, and I want to keep it on this, but obviously, there's a lot of other social issues happening in the world today. Racism, and it goes on and on and on. I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole, but I think people are very quick to forget that this is a country born on revolution. I mean, we started as a revolution. We had the revolutionary. I mean, we learned about the wars and everything. Like, we're based on revolution, and I think we're coming up to some potential revolutionary things, and people are freaked out by it, but very quick to forget that's how we created the country.
And it makes sense. And like to your point though, it's like honestly, like America's like kind of it's all, live your dream and like work and make your own shit. But it's like, okay, so these people are just gonna get shit for free. We ain't getting shit for free.
No.
Unless you're lucky as fuck.
Yeah.
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 It's insane. I know we're diving back in time and kind of digressing from like the whole crypto thing, but it's important. Like you're saying, it's to build up to the crypto. Because because to your point too, if our currency was perfect, there would probably never be a crypto.
There wouldn't need to be.
Yeah.
There wouldn't need to be. I feel pretty confident. Yeah. If we never left a gold standard, I'd be pretty shocked if we did. Because if you actually would have stayed, if we would have actually stayed like true to that, obviously there's a lot of manipulation you can do in that. Like, oh yeah, we have enough gold in the bank account, but you can't prove it, right? So there is a lot of manipulation that's already taking place, which I do believe is maybe one of the reasons why that happened. I think there's more stuff to it than just, hey, we want to mass print and just dominate the world. And obviously, anyways.
So,
but
sorry.
No, you're totally fine,
so what are your thoughts on all this shortage of change and cash and shit?
It's complete malarkey.
I haven't heard that word in a while.
It's not true, dude.
Because like, dude, even me lately, I've been spending a little cash in places, and like people like seem a little weird because like I feel like when I give people cash lately, they're like, "You're giving me cash,
dude." I'm sorry. Like to me, that it's insane. Like there's no shortage. There's not a shortage. I really believe that, and I'm not honestly, I'm really not lying. I don't really follow a lot of these
bullshit.
I mean, a lot of these like conspiracies is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not big on like conspiracy. Like, I think there's some relevancy because I appreciate the curiosity and investigation. I appreciate that. I think checks and balances are good, but I think it's so out of whack. Like, I like to follow data.
So you think they're doing that to drive?
They're doing it to start driving implementation. Like the U.S. So anyone can go look this up. The Federal Reserve and all these bank committees and like all these senators were doing all of these literally live webinars. I watched both of them when I was in California like 100 days ago. You can get on and watch, and there's literally U.S. congressmen asking all these cryptocurrency people, how do we effectively roll out a digital U.S. dollar?
And I've
Like, this
heard,
stuff's already
and it's been
happening.
controversial as fuck too.
Oh yeah, because it's already happening. Like, this is already happening. It's already in play. You're already seeing. It's like just magically there's just a shortage. I'm sorry, there's just not a shortage.
So you think there's like not, you think, I guess here's what I'm thinking is that there's not a shortage, but I think maybe they're just taking shit back.
Yeah.
Because like I'll even dude, like next to my place in LA, dude, I'll go to fucking do my laundry. I gotta fucking go like can't even use the fucking quarter machines. I have to go ask the lady, and then she'll be like, how many loads of laundry are you doing? Because we're low on quarters.
It's crazy, man.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, so think about this. To go back in history, because I mean, history is so important, right? Like, history really does, generally speaking, repeat itself.
Yeah.
Not all the way, obviously. We're not talking, but just generalizing here. History tends to repeat itself. I don't think any person can really go against that. I think most common people that have common sense would agree with that. And you can go back, I don't remember the exact year, but it was early 1900s or whenever it was, where, people were forced to turn in their gold to get printed paper from the Federal Reserve, right? Get a note printed by the Federal Reserve, right? So people were forced to turn in their gold to get paper dollars back. That happened. Like, that's a piece of history. Anyone can go and look at that. That's not crazy. Like, that happened. So, like, all of these things are happening with the digital dollars because China is way out in front of everybody. They are way far out. They're in, like, I don't remember what phase they're in, but they've been testing their digital for quite a while
so
now.
They're the comer. That's what I was. So you, like you were saying earlier, they're second. And please remind me, it's the what currency? The
just the Chinese yen.
No, but the name of the currency, the top dog currency. Earlier.
Bitcoin.
No, but you were saying like there was a de facto. Sorry.
Oh, the de facto currency.
Yeah, I was just trying to get the
Yeah. So there's a lot of people, like, even on these calls, like, I encourage people who are interested, like yourself, you can literally look this up. And I mean, that literally happens. So, I mean, right now, today's September 25th, 2020. This happened in the last 90 days. 2 live recordings. I watched them both because I think this stuff's fascinating. Anyone can look this up and go back and watch it. And they reference China in that multiple times, saying, we need to get started on this. And the reason why they don't say de facto, because I don't think they really want people to understand, but that's really what they're talking about. Because whoever controls de facto, I mean, they control the world. They control sanctions. They control a lot. They can manipulate. I mean, it's crazy. So the big thing is who controls the money, and that's the de facto currency, like what runs OPEC, mainly the oil and stuff like that. And so when they're talking about, they're even saying, yo, like, China is already doing this. This is where they're at. We need to do this or we're going to get left behind. And what they're really saying is this is going to happen. It's going to be cheaper. It's faster. It's more traceable. I mean,
maybe that's too why they're just like, I'm surprised they're not even sending out more money right now. With all these stimulus shit, I feel like, we're about to go like digital, all this.
Well, I mean, you don't erase it. Just because you go digital doesn't mean you erase your debt. So that's really important. You're just transferring the debt from like this kind of fiat, paper transactional.
I guess where does all this debt live? Where does all the international debt live?
It's insane. I read something recently, like the global debt. That's what I'm saying. This is all BS. It's all fluff.
That's why it is.
Yeah, the global debt is at like $568 trillion. It's like, to who? Who are we in debt to? Jupiter?
Fucking yeah, right?
It doesn't even make sense, but that's how backwards our system is.
So it needs, but
like, the U.S. is never gonna pay off the debt ever.
We might never see it in our lifetime, but I feel like there needs to be like a fucking Nintendo button, like reset.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's gonna be chaos.
Wars, baby. Yeah, unfortunately, but I mean that's what
history, like you said, repeating itself.
It's just history.
And I know, and I'm happy we've been fucking getting in.
Heck yeah, bro.
Just clawing in
deep.
But to bring it a little more
Sure.
I guess easier, I guess I'd say is what would you recommend if me, somebody saying I got 500, I got $1,000.
Yeah.
and I want to invest in crypto, but I don't have that much time for it. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
like, I'm not like all in. I'm not going to watch the live stuff like you do.
Yeah.
I'm not like all in, but like, what would you maybe recommend me to do if I had $500,000?
Yeah, dude, it's a really good question, honestly. The number one thing I would say is just like any type of investing, right? Because I'm assuming some people might be watching who have never invested in anything. They've never bought a stock. They've, you know, it's
Be
just-
ready to lose it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whatever you have, it is 100% losable money. So if the $1,000, if let's say you're like, okay, I have $1,000. If that $1,000 is gone tomorrow, you need to be at a spot emotionally where you can look at things objectively. And if you go tomorrow, that $1,000 is just gone, and I'm freaking out, or I'm stressed, or I'm pissed, you're not ready to be an investor.
Do that shit. Yeah.
You're not ready. You might think you are, but you're not. And that's just the way it is. But sometimes you have to force yourself. At some point, you have to just be willing to just leap over a small gap. You just have to do it. So I would say somebody's like, if I have $500, let's bring it down.
Okay.
So if someone goes, I have $500 to invest, but I'm really weary and I'm emotionally drained by the idea of losing $500 tomorrow, I'd say screw that. Take $50. Are you okay to lose $50? And the reason why I say this is obviously $50 is very nominal. I mean, that's a very small amount of money. It's going to take a long time to grow into something big, but that's not the point. The point is just to get in and get your feet wet. You know, like the first time you bought a stock, you're like, oh, now that whole barrier of fear is gone. And so now I'm becoming more comfortable with it. Now I'm willing to invest more money. So I would say take $50 and I would honestly just buy Bitcoin. You can do it through a few different apps. There's two main apps that people use, at least in the US. One is called Coinbase. It's really, really popular. It's probably the most used by a mile. That's how I got started. That's how most people get started. They have a big skyscraper in San Francisco. They're FDIC insured.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they've done a lot of the regulation, like pathway work for real. So if you have money on Coinbase and it gets hacked or something, it will be FDIC insured.
So are they some of the first people to do that, to be FDIC insured, pardon me, in the space?
In the US.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the US, it's one of the regulated, because it's a regulated exchange. And exchange is the real word. Just kind of like, you can compare it to a Charles Schwab, you know, like, or I just want to buy some stock.
So E-Trade, Coinbase.
E-Trade. Yeah. Exactly. E-Trade is Coinbase. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So all you do is you just go to Coinbase in your phone app store and download Coinbase. If for some reason you haven't downloaded it, use either my referral code or your referral code.
I'm going to put Bryce's referral code below.
Cool. Because when you use that, what's cool is if whenever you do it, whether it's on the day or 6 months in, once you spend your first $100, you get $10 of free Bitcoin. And it also sends me $10 free Bitcoin. If you don't use the referral code, all good. You just miss out on 10 free bucks of Bitcoin. Mm. If Bitcoin continues to grow, that's just going to turn into $11, $12, $20, $30. Like, it's worth your time to get 10 free bucks of Bitcoin. So that's the first way to do it.
I'm going to use that shit.
Cool. So that's the first one, is Bitcoin. A lot of people really like that because it has that regulation behind it. It has the FDIC insured. It's been around the longest. It's just the biggest, most popular name. It's like PayPal. It's a huge name in the space. It's the biggest. Nothing's even close. The second up is something called the Cash App. Probably familiar with it. Yeah. Little green logo. Most people are familiar with it. Well, just last year, they started implementing, you can now buy Bitcoin. It's the only cryptocurrency you can buy using the Cash App. Now, Cash App has cheaper fees. So a lot of people who are pretty into the space won't use Coinbase. If they're buying Bitcoin, they'll buy the Cash App because there's less fees.
Oh, okay. Makes
Just
sense.
like you think about like Charles Schwab, they all have broker fees, right? Right. And this is the same reason why PayPal and Venmo are getting in on this. Because I read the numbers. It's like insane. Billions and billions of dollars that the Cash App has made in the last 12 months just from Bitcoin fees, because so many people are buying it. And you can buy $10 worth. You don't have to buy. There's this thing called stacking sats, stacking Satoshis. That's kind of like some lingo in the space. And the idea is that a lot of people stacking sats, baby. But the idea is because a lot of people are going, oh shoot, you know, Bitcoin's 10 grand. I don't got 10 grand.
Well, so yeah, that's what I was asking earlier. Yeah.
But they don't realize you can buy a Satoshi, which is just a real small fraction.
It's like a penny instead of a Benjamin.
Yeah, it'd be like the idea that, hey, I want to buy, you know, one whole stock of this company. If they won't let you buy a whole one, maybe they'll let you buy a half one. You just buy a fraction. But I mean, if you think about it, there's only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be created. Think about that. 21
Well,
million.
that, and honestly, that I think is like you were kind of elaborating on it.
Yeah.
That I think is the biggest thing I'm taking out of this for me personally.
Sure.
Is just the supply and demand factor that the supply is set, like you're saying.
Period. Yeah. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah,
if people understand that fiat is deflationary by design, as long as it's not backed by anything, and cryptocurrencies, specific ones that do have a set supply, those are deflationary. Anyone that actually really understands that will literally start buying Bitcoin.
What would you say to like a crazy stoner out there who wants to invest in something a little crazier crypto? Is there one out there that you see value in that's not like that's risky as fuck?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I know a lot of them. That's a good question, Jack. But real quick, I want to finish up this point because this is good, because this is like actually application. People can either, so they would download both Coinbase or the Cash App. If they don't have either, they can use either of my referrals down in the links. Or Jack's. If you have the Cash App,
it's on you. Yours. It's on you right now. I'm gonna use yours.
Cool. So people can use either of those, and then you just buy Bitcoin and it'll save it right there. Now, Cash App, to my knowledge, is not FDIC insured. It might have been since the last time I looked. I don't hold any cryptocurrencies on there. They only have Bitcoin, but they're eventually going to have more. But I don't hold any Bitcoin on there, so I don't really care too much. So I don't know if it's FDIC insured or not. But for some people who are really hesitant about the space, that might be worth spending a few extra bucks in fees in order to get the FDIC, comfort with Coinbase.
And is Coinbase's like, I guess the cryptos under them, is it kind of like infinite, or is it kind of like, how many would you say, like how many cryptos are under Coinbase that you can buy that are insured through them?
Yeah, good question. So Coinbase as a broker is FDI insured. So anything you hold in the broker will be FDI insured. You can buy, I think there's about 20 different cryptocurrencies right now that you can buy using Coinbase.
Probably growing every day, like you're saying.
I mean, it's up and down every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, once again, if you think about it, there's only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be created. So in the thought process that only, let's say if a person had one, let's say I get one, you get one, she gets one, they get one. It means only 21 million people in the world can ever own one full Bitcoin at the same time. Like, really think about that. And there are people out there that have thousands of Bitcoin. Thousands for one person. So it's like, that's the biggest thing.
How many, if you don't mind me asking, how many do you have?
I won't talk about that.
Can you tell me can we get your account number too? That's under your eyelid. No, I knew you were gonna say. I'm just
No, I appreciate it. I mean, some people ask, but yeah, anything.
I'm just fucking around.
I hear you. But that's a good lesson though for anyone out there who gets into the space. It's nothing you ever want to talk about. You don't want people to know. It's just like, unless you're one of those people like, yeah, I have 20 grand in the bank.
I feel like that's just like a general thing though. Like even like you're saying, like cash in your bank accounts. Like if you're talking about your money or whatever, it's like, it's what my grandma told my mom would tell me is, somebody's talking too much, you got to wonder why.
Dude, good point. Yeah, if someone tells you I have 20 grand, like, why are you telling me? Number one, I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
exactly. You got to wonder why. It brings questions.
Yes, but in the case of this, there's a lot more upside potential. So you just want to be safe. You want to be smart. You have to know what you're doing. And if you decide that you're going to put like a lot of money into, like, let's say you're like, hey, Bryce, I have $5,000. Oh, Bitcoin's at $10,000. I want to buy a half a Bitcoin today. Okay, cool. Well, you can buy that on Coinbase. You can buy that on the Cash App. But if you don't know how to maneuver your cryptocurrencies onto a different storage device, then your money's going to be left in the exchange. So you're kind of putting some faith in the exchanges the same way you put faith in your Wells Fargo to hold your money. It's really not a whole lot different. People are. Yeah.
Can you talk about that? We're not talking numbers, but with you in particular.
Yeah.
Do you take the stuff off Coinbase and you put it in your own wallet, or like?
Yeah, you can put it in cold storage. I personally have things in cold storage and a few other places I won't really go into today. But cold storage is definitely going to be your best bet, just generally speaking. And
that's the device you're talking about. The little physical.
Yeah, and people can learn about that. In case someone like wants to go down that rabbit hole, I'll be blunt. I know the best one. We'll leave a link
Yeah.
in case someone like wants to go down the rabbit hole and learn more about it. It's not complicated. Just basically, I'll make sure that there's enough links where someone's like, hey, I actually want to do this. You can go through this that way. I mean, and it's well researched as well. So people can kind of go down that.
No, yeah,
pathway.
that. There's so
Yeah.
much. It's crazy. There's so much to it, but at the same time, the whole underlying thing's pretty simple.
I mean, think about it. You open your phone, you open your bank app, you look at your digital money on your digital screen that's being held on their digital ledger, on their digital computers, at their digital warehouses. It's all
It
digital.
makes sense
already.
why they're getting scared.
Everything's already digital.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it's not, I'm telling you, like, this is already here. Like, this is happening at a lot higher speeds than people will really realize. And it's just going to be, one day it'll be this huge flip of the switch and people will either be like, yep, glad I'm prepared. Or
People will be fighting this shit regardless too.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Is that happening now? I assume. Pardon me.
What's up?
I assume that's happening now, probably even in politics. Like, oh, we don't need this fucking.
Well, the main thing that a lot of people are fighting is, and this is taken directly from those calls, which I really encourage. It was fascinating, Jack. Like, I mean, think about it, like, some of these are like senators. I mean, these are smart, educated, well-rounded individuals, and they have no clue what's going on. I'm telling you, they're clueless. I mean, 90% of the people on there, they're like, okay, so can you explain why this is going to be important in the future? And people are like, the guest speakers are like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, it's like education 101. You're talking to high. I mean, so my point is it's moving slowly, but China is going to force us to go 100 times faster than we are. And so we're starting to see like a lot of regulations, especially on like banking regulations. Like in the last month, we've had like 2 major regulations that are starting to be passed. So
And not to digress, but
yeah.
somebody, because you've done mortgages for a while.
Yeah.
Have you seen a change in that game? Like you're saying the past couple months, like you're saying with interest rates and shit, like has it?
Yeah.
I know you've stepped out a little bit to focus more on the crypto and just currency trading in general.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good question. So mortgage finance is great. I was doing it for about 2 years and then left that game a few months ago. Yeah. Just kind of do my own thing. But I mean, it was a really good base. Obviously, there's a lot of finance. If some like the financial literacy, like the financial terms kind of go over someone's head, that can be tough. Just like anything, when you learn the language of the business, everything becomes easier. So I definitely say that, my years doing mortgage and finance definitely helped me understand some of the lingo, but I have seen definitely, I mean, interest rates alone. I mean, you have to realize someone is controlling the interest rates, right? They're not just going up and down by free fall. They're not.
When you say somebody, I picture like Wizard of Oz behind a curtain and shit.
It's not that far off, dude. It's not that far off. But that's the job of the Fed. One of the Fed's jobs when they were created in 1913 or whatever it was, I don't remember, but something like that. It was one of their jobs was to control interest rates, and that will help with inflation, right? So, but I mean, you think about that's pure manipulation.
Yeah.
It's all manipulated,
Yeah.
100%. No one can debate it. It's fact. So yeah, over like the last few years, we're seeing, especially the last like 4 or 5 months, mainly because of COVID-19, where the economy's down, and they want people to continue to buy money and lend, so they lower interest rates. And that incentivizes people to take money out because they can get money for so cheap.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? So someone's like, oh, wow, the economy sucks. And so once people kind of start holding their money, right? Because they think they might lose their jobs or something. But at a higher level, the government goes, we need to keep the economy going.
It's so defensive. It's all
stupid.
yeah.
By design, it's faulted. It's never gonna work.
How long, if you just had to guess, would you think that like somebody would get a mortgage on like a cryptocurrency?
Oh, that's already happened. People are,
really?
Oh yeah. So that's called crypto lending. That's been out for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's,
See, I'm at the game.
yeah, dude. No, it's a really good question, Jack. I applaud you for that because, I mean, you can buy houses, anything you can buy right now in cash, you can
There's
buy
somewhere
in crypto.
to.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, and you could do that for years. The big famous story is, I forget the year, but someone bought a pizza using like 10,000 Bitcoin. And that equaled like $17. And so like you can look it up on YouTube. It's like the, $40 million
A person
pizza.
sitting in a room right now, like motherfucker.
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, it's like, and what reminds me of is like my grandma was born in 1919 when Coca-Cola came out.
Oh wow.
And I heard a statistic that like if she put like, or I heard something about Coca-Cola and I kind of did the math back in there, but like if she put like $20 in there in 1919, like
Yeah.
she would have had like 100K type shit. Like maybe not that much. I forget what it was back in the day, but like to your point,
probably
though,
not too far off. Yeah. Yeah. Especially as everything gets inflated. So I apologize. I wanted to ask your question. What was your question? Do you remember?
of
What was
the mortgage of people using
Oh,
Bitcoin and to buy like a house or something.
Yeah, but that's like crypto lending. That's been around for quite a while. And that space is really growing right now, like rapidly growing right now. People can go down some wild goose chase. If someone out here is watching this and you're tracking all this and you really want to go down the rabbit hole, now this is complex and confusing. Like it really is confusing, but you can get into yield farming and some like really wacky stuff. I don't want to touch on that now, but someone can go and like YouTube it if they want. Like a lot of, it can just get, now it's starting to get a lot more complex. And the reason why, Jack, is this is I've had a lot of really, pretty educated people that I've talked with about this. I'm like, well, why do you think, crypto is so guaranteed? Right. And in my personal opinion, it's because Wall Street greed, period. Anywhere where Wall Street or large institutions can come in and make a lot of money, they'll do it no matter what. And now crypto is finally at that point, especially some of these regulations that are literally getting passed right now, they can now do it. Right. So like I said, Coinbase's numbers are nuts. Go look them up. They make tons of money. Now Cash App's coming in. Venmo and PayPal. That was like 3 months ago. Visa's doing a ton of stuff, MasterCard, because all the fees they can make. And so you're going to continue to see like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, they're all going to have crypto products because they can charge fees and make money.
But can these Wall Street guys there still has to be a way for them to finesse, even if they're or let's just say that just say a typical Wall Street company or person, they still have a way to work it, right? Like, are there people on Wall Street right now, I assume, hustling Bitcoin to cold calling people selling them Bitcoin?
Oh, and that's a really good question. So you kind of referring back to like the penny stocks back in the day, what we see in the movies?
Yeah,
like a little bit. No. It's a really good question. They might be peddling people for what's called the derivatives market, if that makes sense, which means you can speculate on the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so it's kind of like if people speculate on the spot price of silver and gold, they can look at gold and they can actually bet whether that's going to go up or go down. That'd be like the derivatives market. You're basically betting, you're gambling on the price of the market. Okay. So that's already happening. Like there's Bitcoin options, there's Bitcoin futures. Like that's already been around for years. Like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, that hosts like, which is basically, so you have like the New York Stock Exchange, and then you basically have, it's right up there with like the Toronto Stock Exchange, but like the CME, one out of Chicago. They do a lot of stuff like that. And that's where they do mainly a lot of the Bitcoin futures and Bitcoin options. And of course, that's Wall Street. They're making a ton of money. A ton of money. Like the next big push is a Bitcoin like ETF or a fund. And now you can do 401ks based on cryptocurrencies. So if someone has a job right now, like when I had a job before I kind of was starting to plan my exit, at that time, I was putting money into the 401k product. And we had, we had Charles Schwab. Yeah, that's who we were using. We had Fidelity that moved over to Charles Schwab. And I was starting to put in some work because I was like, okay, if I'm putting money into a mutual fund, I want to see if there's a crypto mutual fund. And that's some newer stuff that's recently coming out. So if someone maybe like is a W-2 employee, they're not maybe comfortable, if they're already like, hey, I'm already putting 3% of my stuff into this, maybe look to see if your broker who's hosting your 401k has a crypto option. Because that's a way you can maybe participate in the market without learning a lot of stuff and like trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's like gold. Some people are like, oh, you can buy gold stocks. But a lot of people are like, if I'm going to buy gold, I want a piece of gold. I want to hold it. I want to bite it.
That's what I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing. Would you ever buy gold stock?
No.
Okay. So that's why a lot of people won't get involved in these things.
Well, and that's kind of what I've been alluding to too, is like
they want to buy Bitcoin. Yeah. You don't want to buy the derivative.
Yeah, you don't want to You want the real deal.
You want if you want a piece of gold that you can bite into, you can see it's real. That way you can use it at your will. Same thing with Bitcoin. The people that really understand it, they're not. I mean, they are, because you can ride the manipulations of the market once you kind of figure it out. But these people, they want Bitcoin. They physically want the physical Bitcoin
in their wallet.
In their cold storage wallet or somewhere else that they're holding it.
It makes sense,
dude. It makes a lot of sense,
and it's crazy because it is. That's the beauty of it too. I think is it's simple. It's very simple, the whole base of it, and it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But yet you can dive in, as it sounds like you have, for literally endless amount of time. To learn. But like the basis of it is pretty simplistic.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you understand Venmo and your current bank, like anyone watching here, if you log into if you are a US citizen and you have an iPhone or Android and you get on your phone and you log into your bank account, let's say you have Wells Fargo, and you go in there and you transfer money. You've ever used Venmo or Zelle, Zelle, where you can transfer money person to person. If you've already done that, you understand almost everything you need to know about crypto because you understand its usability.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You might not know all the other stuff, but you already understand how it works, how to use it. It's very intuitive. It's just not through a central bank or a government. That's why governments are so freaked out.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, sorry about saying,
no,
and that's probably like why I've like heard about it, and I've talked to some friends like you and stuff about it. But like, it's also like kind of kept under wraps too, for that reason, because it is a threat to the banks.
They do not want us.
Yeah.
The only time the banks will want us in on it is once they can charge us fees for it. Period. Oh, I'm telling you, Jack, you mark my words. People can watch us 2 years from now. As soon as everywhere in Wall Street, every bank can hold it, tax you on it, put fees on it, it'll be everywhere. Commercials, everything. Mark my words. I'd put $1,000 on it right now. I'm serious.
I'm with you. 2,000 right here.
I would do it. I would take, if anyone, I mean, I would literally take that bet with anybody because it's already starting to happen. So, and I would never actually ethically take that bet because I know it would happen. So if someone out there's like, let's take the bet, I'm not going to take it because you would lose. Like it's already happening behind the scenes. So it's like, I mean, it's some crazy stuff.
And that's kind of what I was just saying is like,
stuff.
in order to like know about it, you kind of have to look for it. Sure. Where it's like banks are in your face all day. You're driving by Bank of America, US Bank, Wells Fargo, all this shit.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. It's always there.
Yeah.
Go to your ATM, you take it out.
Yeah.
And you don't, to think deeper on this shit, you have to have a conversation like we are. You have to have a friend you have to watch a YouTube video. You have to go down that wormhole to learn this shit.
Or you could walk, there's like right now we're in Overland Park, Kansas, right? There's a smoke shop. I was buying a cigar literally like 2 weeks ago at a smoke shop.
Right down there.
Right down there. Yeah. You walk in, there's a Bitcoin ATM.
Oh, really?
In the shop.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm serious. Bitcoin ATMs are actually more prevalent.
Gives you out cash?
No, you can buy Bitcoin using your fiat currency. It's like an exchange.
So do they take it for their products there?
No, you can't physically walk into the store and buy something with it. Like you can't buy a cigar using Bitcoin unless that place accepts Bitcoin, which a lot of places, I'm telling you, a lot more places than you'd think do.
I've seen the sign up on a bunch of places, but I'm just like, or mostly in LA.
In California, New York, there are literally like crypto bars where you pay for your drinks in crypto, which is genius.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a smart idea.
Genius for them. Like if I owned a bar, I would totally take crypto. Why? Because it's deflationary and not inflationary. If someone's like, I'll give you $1 Bitcoin or a US dollar bill, anyone who understands inflation versus deflation is literally off their rocker. If they go, oh, I'll take the inflationary one, right? It doesn't make sense. Hey, I'll take that physical piece of dollar and I know the value is going to continue to erode month after month after month. Makes no sense. You definitely take the deflationary set supply currency, which in this situation is Bitcoin.
Well, and that's I completely agree with you. And that's what I was saying is like most people though, especially older than us, don't know that.
No,
because
they don't.
People are scared of it.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I don't want like, well, just give me a paper dollar, bro.
Yeah. It's because what they understand.
Yeah.
But the thing is back in the day, you go back 200 years and you try to give them a dollar. Like, what the heck is this? I don't want a piece of paper. Yeah. I want whatever at that time was, whether it was, I mean, look at me. You can look back in history. You have gold. You have salt was a currency for a while. I mean, there's so many different
Do you ever
things.
think and I think we almost might be like kind of Bitcoin aside a little bit.
Yeah.
I almost think we might be going more towards that barter market too of the trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like back to the old school.
We could.
I trade you, or maybe that's just too extreme, but
I don't think it's too extreme. There's a lot of really interesting articles about Hong Kong, about how they were the biggest holder of gold and the biggest investor in gold, the biggest buyer of gold for like years, right? And like I said, I'm really not I really don't consider myself a conspiracy guy. I honest to God don't. I more so like to follow like macroeconomics and like what makes sense. Because the world is based on incentives. That's the basis of economics. That's like the definition of economics.
I like that. I hadn't heard it said so.
Yeah. So
like,
if you think about incentives,
perfect.
yeah, that's really economics. People are incentivized to do something for this or whatever. It's all based on incentives. A really good book to read about where I learned about that concept at a young age is Freakonomics. Is a book that I think really changed the way I thought from a pretty young age. It's a really good book. Freakonomics. And then Super Freakonomics. They're really good books, but they talk about economics in different ways. And just my cousin encouraged me to read it in high school or something. I was
Good
like,
man, huh? Good man.
Dude,
Or woman.
yeah, no, thank you, Braden. I appreciate you. My cousin Braden. But yeah, I mean, I read that book and it really talks about that. So if you think about it, let's say there's a possibility of this happening, where a lot of people think maybe it'll be a central currency or a digital currency, but maybe that is going to be backed by gold or backed by something else. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Hong Kong's all over the news, kind of getting taken over by China. So it's like, there's a lot of things at play, but I think there's a lot of underlying things that go on because, to my knowledge, like those types of gold purchases are on actual ledgers, public ledgers. And anyone can look this up. You look at Hong Kong, they're always the top buyer of gold or right up there. And all of a sudden, before you know it, Hong Kong's all over the news. People are trying to control Hong Kong. The U.S. is trying to protect Hong Kong. China wants to take over Hong Kong. I mean, I think, so anyways, rather than being a conspiracies, I like to look at the economics behind it and why would people be incentivized to do this or this? And it's all based on money. We all know that, right? So I think it's interesting that you say that because I don't think this is going to happen, but I think it would be interesting if someone proposed the idea of a digital currency, but it does have to be backed by something such as gold or something else. Now that's a little bit going off the deep end, but I think that's an interesting question.
Well, that's where it'd be hard too, is like, because people could go find gold still. It's a lot harder these days, but it has to, and that's the most impossible part almost, is finding something that's very controllable, right? Like, or that has a known set universal amount, because there's still gold in the earth.
Yeah.
There's still silver in the earth.
Yeah.
And that's fine, I guess, right? But at the same time, I feel like it'd be better if like there was like a set, you see it. It's like you're saying with the Bitcoin, there is 21 million pieces of gold.
Yeah.
And you throw everything out, like, this is what it's worth.
This is it.
But it'd have to be something, I guess, I don't even know. It'd have to be something new, right?
But that's why digital is perfect. And that's why people who understand Bitcoin invest in it, because it's perfect. It's perfect, Jack. Like, I'm really not lying. The more people learn about it, the more they will say this to themselves. Wow, like all the BS aside, all the fluff aside, I'm going to look, it's a set supply. And by code, I mean, that's how it's all based on code. And that's just how it's built. It's a set system. It can't be manipulated. That's how it's built. And now it's so big and so large. The community is so strong, I mean, it's really interesting, but the more people learn about crypto, the more they're going to learn specifically about Bitcoin. Obviously there's thousands, and I think it's worth talking about a few of the others, but really Bitcoin is the starting point. It's the Mac Daddy. It's the biggest one, but it's also built the best, in my opinion, in regards to like building value and things like that. There's a lot of argument, which I do agree with, where it's not the best utility, meaning it's not the most useful, right? Until the system is much bigger, because there can be times, because the system is still pretty small. How many of your friends knowingly do you know that own Bitcoin or use Bitcoin? Not very many.
Very few.
And most people say the same. Like, it's not that big yet. The infrastructure is very small. And so because of this,
that's also too where the beauty is, it's prime time right now.
Yeah.
Or was a while ago or whatever. But it's never too late, right? Or will be soon, but
it still is. I'm telling you. I mean, to me personally, anything, and people are gonna be like, wow, this guy's totally nuts, but this is just my personal opinion. Anything under $100,000 is undervalued. That's just my personal opinion. And there's a lot of very smart, legitimate economics who said anything under $1 million is undervalued solely because there's a set supply of 21 million. Period. 21 million. That's not a lot of units. It's not. If this thing does become mainstream, if it does, which we don't know, but it is absolutely.
Well, you're saying it already seems like it's on that verge.
It is moving towards that.
And this is, and I guess like we talked earlier with the economics and everything right now, it's moving even more rapidly than anticipated probably right now in the past year, 2020.
It's interesting. Well, I mean, one of the big things they're talking about was the first stimulus check. You know, there were all these people they couldn't send the stimulus checks to. They were trying to send a bunch of stimulus checks to a bunch of dead people. They couldn't get out to people this way. They couldn't get to this person. And then I mean, if you go back and watch those 2 talks I talked about, like with the, you know, all the people who are about the digital currency, that's one of the things that the crypto people are trying to help the politicians understand. Like, don't you understand if there was some kind of digital anything, you could, like one of the big pushes right now they're saying is you can't just take away money because there's so many people that don't have broadband, don't have internet, don't have access to banks, UPS. They just don't have access. So they get totally left behind, which is totally factual. That's a really good point. And so there's no way we'll just flip over. That's not going to happen. But a lot of people think, and I actually agree with this, I think we'll see a dual version where fiat still exists, the US dollar, our greenbacks, our coins, and whatever.
I haven't heard that phrase before.
Oh, greenbacks? Sure. And then you're going to have like a dual side by side, you know, digital, but that's going to be pinned to the value of the fiat currency. But people can start using this and get, you know, because then let's say
there's more incentive to use it too. So
absolutely. Because they could, to incentivize people, economics, right? They might say, you know what? Your bank account is going to pay you 0.000001, right, percent interest. You go over here, we'll give you 0.1% interest. Okay, cool.
Let's go.
I'm already keeping my money digitally on my Wells Fargo account. I'm just going to keep it digitally in the Federal Reserve digital wallet. And now, you know, there's lots of things they can do, but that would allow them to push a button and send out those $1,200 stimulus checks to 50 million people. It's perfect. It's fast.
Yeah.
It's liquid. You're not sending stuff. It's expensive to send all these checks out to people.
And that's what's always blown my mind, not to like get on a tangent, but like from the USPS to the DMV to all these government things. I'm like, how do you have the shittiest shit? Literally, like where does all this go? Like how am I in a DMV right now and you have no technology? How is, you know,
I know, dude.
How do I go to USPS post office and they still look like they're in fucking 1970?
Dude, I don't know. It's a really good question.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's a really,
I'm like,
it's a really
I feel like
point.
that shit should be top of, I've always felt that. I'm like, this shit should be top of the line. Like
it should be
people
top
should
of
be
the line.
looking up to this shit. Yeah. Not like, what the fuck is this shit?
Dude, it's a really good point. It's a super good point. It's a great point, dude.
I don't even know.
Yeah, no, it's funny, man. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I think people are very quick to forget because we're so, I don't use this word lightly, so I hope it's not misconstrued or used against me. But I think in today's world, the majority of the population, and I think really all of us, myself included, we have this piece of like self-righteousness that like we're so much better now, or we're better people now. And we're just so quick to forget that like our country is truly built on revolution. The world progresses forward. Like there was, you know, all of a sudden, you know, we made a big push and women got voting rights. And, you know, it's like we make these progressive steps forward, you know, for the right reasons. And so why not have that same thing happen with currency? It's better, faster, cheaper. I mean, every way you look at it, it's better. It's perfect compared to what we have now. So it's very interesting. I think people are just really quick to like really forget our history, just the world history.
Yeah,
you know, it's a short history compared to what, you know, relatively speaking, but still, like it's just, I don't know. I think, like I said, I use that word very reluctantly, but that self-righteousness, I think we do kind of have that, you know, we're hot. You know, like, you know.
No, I feel you.
For real. But we don't talk about that. But that's good shit, brother.
For real. and I feel like this right here is number like 1 of 10. Series 1 of 10 podcast, bro. I feel like we could dive on literally how long we won?
I have no idea.
We've been going for an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't think so either. But like I'm saying, like that's what I'm saying. Like And there were so many times like you're like, I don't want to get too into this, but I could.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be like,
We could do some
this is going to be a
segments if you
multiple.
want.
This is going to be a multiple thing.
Okay. Cool.
Let's go.
Dude, I'm totally down. Now, there's many segments we could jump down further. I do want to answer one question in case you're wanting to wrap this up. Is you asked about a speculative question. Hey, Bryce, maybe someone out there's like, you know what? I'm cool. I got $500 to blow. What can I throw this in on? Right? Have some fun with it. I'm down to risk it. $500, red or black. All in. If I lose it, cool. If 500 turns into something more, that's cool too. There's the cryptocurrency space outside of like the 3 to 5 like really big ones, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's a few like really main, like I guess you could call them staples almost within the community, right? These are big, they have huge dollar caps. I mean, you're talking billions and billions of dollars in these market caps. These are big projects, well-funded, lots of developers, they're international, they're used. These are big cryptocurrencies, right? They're worth hundreds or thousands of dollars per coin, right? These few at the top, obviously, especially Bitcoin being the really big value one. Then it gets down to like the hundreds. And then of course, down like into the multiples of tens. But then you can go more speculative. You're mainly looking at like smaller cryptocurrencies. So, I mean, there's thousands of these. And every single week, there are YouTube stars and crypto people who are coming out and they'll show you 5 new ones, like per week, per person. I mean, if you went down the rabbit hole, like you could get off this video right now, get on YouTube for 2 hours. And in 2 hours from now, you could come back with 30 small little cryptos that I've never heard of. And I know quite a few of them.
Yeah,
but my point is that it's moving that fast.
Yeah, shit.
It's mainly because a lot of developers are really taking advantage of just new people to the space who are uneducated, which is natural in a revolution. That happens. People are trying to take advantage of because they have more education than us.
Fittest, yeah.
That's right, brother. It's a little bit of that,
Yeah.
so and so you definitely have some of that with there's a big term in the industry called pump and dump. It's exactly what you think it is. Like a coin starts, right?
Well, I was thinking something. Are you sure about that?
You sure? Oh, I love it.
Oh shit.
But let's say I start up a coin. I could call it the Heine coin. Literally based off this Heineken. I'm not going to call it Heineken for obvious reasons. I don't get copyright sued or whatever. But I could call it the Heine coin. And I could say this is worth 1 penny. Why? Because I said it is. Same reason why we say a US dollar is worth $1, even though the value of the US dollar is fluctuating constantly at every moment of the day. Well, 5 days a week, right? But we say it's worth $1, but it's really usually not worth exactly $1, right? It's just whatever we give it to value. So I could say this Heine coin is worth a penny. And I'm going to say there's a set supply of 5 million, right? And then I could say, hey, Billy, you have 250 grand laying around? Yeah, I got 250 grand around. Cool. I'm going to have you buy $250,000 of this coin. And there's a set supply and the demand just skyrocketed. So now the value of this coin just went from 1 penny, let's say up to, let's just say $1 for easy math, right? You probably see where this is going.
Well, and even you, instead of even asking somebody, if you had a 250,000 yourself,
Yeah.
to even make it a little more intense, almost. Your example, you could literally
do it yourself.
Yeah.
But you see my point
Yeah.
is if you can get it, if you spend $250,000 and it raises it from 1 penny to $1, and then you can find someone else out there in the world who has no idea what they're doing to buy all of it for $1. Well, that's from a penny to $1, you went up 100 times. So $250,000 times 100, and you're out. Dump. 2 days later, gone. Can't scrap the project, burn everything. You see my point?
Yeah.
So my point is that when it comes to these speculative things, these are what people are looking for. To be blunt, because they want this. Ooh, Bitcoin
Get rich kind of quick
hell
deal.
yeah, brother. They're going, Bitcoin was worth once, a fraction of a penny, right? And now they see Bitcoin at $10,000. They're going, oh my goodness, if I only spent $100,
I could be that guy.
I could be a mega millionaire. a Lambo, you know, all these types of, you know, your mind just kind of goes crazy. So to be totally honest, I'm really not big on pushing speculative, like super speculative, but there are a few projects I'm following really closely, and I will tell you them now. The number one that I really like is one called Chainlink. You can find it. It's also being, you can purchase it on the Coinbase exchange. It's just a different cryptocurrency, and it has a lot of utility, meaning it's very, very important in the cryptocurrency scene. It basically helps computers talk to each other. It's really, really important within the crypto.
So it's not a currency, it's itself.
It's a cryptocurrency just like Bitcoin.
Okay.
So think about Bitcoin as the US dollar. Chainlink is, you know, Swiss franc, whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
So it's just a different currency.
Okay.
Okay. So there's just different currencies. They're all just different currencies or coins or tokens. There's a few differences between coins and tokens, but just generally, just think about like units. So Bitcoin is like a unit of cryptocurrency, right? So there's different types, and some of them have different uses. They call them utility within the space, meaning, is there a use? Does this actually solve a problem? And there are certain companies such as, you know, Chainlink that is solving an important problem. It's basically a lot of the coins that I'm following. I'm more focused on ones that have good utility, that I think are going to be around for a long time, that have good development teams. You know, when I first got into the space, I was really just going, oh, which ones cost a penny? And then it's like 4,000 pop up, and you're like, okay, I'm going at this the wrong way, right? Unless you just have
that's how it was with
cash.
cannabis stocks, because I bought a bunch of right when I started getting into like cannabis stocks and shit. I bought some shitty penny stocks that have gone down like 98%, 3 of them. But I only put $50 in each. I lost like $150. But then I learned, I'm like, okay, I jumped in too quick.
Yeah.
I didn't do my research.
Yeah.
So I deserve to lose it.
But at the same point, though, the way you should think about it, because I've had some friends who've lost a lot of money in, you know, a lot of money in crypto or, you know, foreign exchange, known as Forex or something like this. And the way you just have to look at it, otherwise you beat yourself up. You have to look at it as it's a lesson that you paid for. I mean, we spent a lot. I mean, you and I went to KU together, Rock Chalk.
Rock Chalk. Hey,
that's right, baby. And but we forget that, you know, we dropped a whole lot of money going to class. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, brother.
Like, you know, we spent a lot of money getting college courses.
Yeah.
And so you can look at it as $150 price through just kind of a throw yourself in course. And you probably learned a lot. You learned how to buy. You learned how to, I mean, you just learn
I agree
how to
with
navigate.
You. That's also why we're optimists.
That's correct, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, optimists rule the world, baby. At least they should.
For real.
But no, so I mean, Chainlink, I think is a really strong project that I've been following very closely for quite a while. There's another one called Tezos that is another great project I think worth following. Those are really probably the main two I talk. I mean, there's dozens more that I follow. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe we can do that on a second one around. Maybe
I'm ready for you to start a crypto podcast.
How about I just tell you on your podcast? And
Let's go. I'm gonna call this like the crypto series or something.
Dude, it's cool, man. I mean, because you could call it, you know, cannabis and crypto. It's pretty hot.
Yeah, for real though.
But I think there's a lot of value in this because it's new, but it's important.
Well, that's exactly why, like, because I started talking to you that when you came over, you were helping me out with some marketing stuff, and we started talking this, and I'm like, dude, I want to have you on a podcast because I feel like this will help more than me.
It will.
Like
it will. I hope it does. I hope
it will,
it
man.
Does, yeah. I mean, because I feel blessed. I mean, I'm just passing the baton, you know.
Yeah, you're not like, invest in this, and you're just keeping it real of your experiences, and it's just yours. Yeah, keeping it raw and real, man.
Dude, doing my best, man. But I mean, if you know, I guess maybe I don't know if we're getting on the point wrapping it up, but if we are, the number one thing, like if I don't know even what screen I'm talking, if so many cameras
right here.
You got so many cameras up in here, I can't even keep track. I'm like, which one am I looking at, baby? But for real, if you're out there, the number one thing is if you understand the whole idea of fiat currencies, such as the US dollar, because it was removed from the gold standard in 71 by Nixon. If you understand that when that happened, it's natural now for the design to be inflationary. And if you disagree somehow, you can look up quantitative easing or known as QE from the Fed. And this has been happening for a long time, which is why the cheeseburger is no longer 15 cents or why the eggs at your supermarket are not what they used to be. It's just inflation right in front of your face. And so if you can understand how that's inflationary because there's no set supply, but then look at cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, where Bitcoin has a set supply. And because it has a set supply, the only thing that's moving or liquid or fluid is going to be the demand. If you can understand that, that is deflationary. And that, I mean, that's really the best thing. I hope that if someone's watching this and they've never heard anything about this, like that's what I would want to know right up front, because that took me time to figure out. Like I was reading articles and videos and like no one just ever came out and said it like that. And I would, because that probably, honestly, that would have sped things up for me probably about 12 months. Because I just didn't fully, understand. Like I knew it was hot. I knew it was cool. I knew I might be able to make a quick buck.
That's like me. Yeah.
But I just didn't understand like, whoa.
It was just a way it's perfect because it makes it actually make sense.
Yeah.
Like what you just said is an easy way for it to actually like relate and make sense, because otherwise it seems crazy kind of to other people.
I mean, it's a fundamental pivot that has to happen, and we're already seeing it happening, and it's starting to really ramp up. When someone gets on Coinbase, the app, link in the description. This is my first time doing this thing. I'm learning the game from Jack here. But when you're on Coinbase, there's a section in the app where you can read crypto news. Spend 5 minutes a day. Challenge yourself for 1 week, 35 minutes, 5 minutes a day for 7 days, and to start reading some crypto news. You'll be blown away. These are not some random Jack in the Box dude out in his mom's van down by the river.
You talking about me?
Like, these just are a bunch of just, fools writing. I mean, you go in there, Forbes. I mean, these are big time, like Yahoo Finance. Like people are following the space and writing about the space often, daily. I mean, there's a lot of really big regulations being passed. That would be a great segment to talk about crypto regulation, because that is
episode 2, crypto regulation.
Baby.
Fuck yeah.
Heck yeah, bro. But anyways, I would say we can wrap it up there, but I think that's a great starting point. I think that'd be revolutionary. That's what I wish I would have heard if this was my first.
Well, thank you for that, man.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of living it. You can do that.
Yeah.
Put it simpler for people because you're in the trenches, you're in the game.
Right.
And you can actually tell people like, I wish, and that's the shit that helps me when people like, oh, I wish I knew this. I'll, like literally if somebody says those couple words, I'll like lean in even farther. Like, oh, this, I wish I knew this. I'm like, what? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's because it's that empirical data.
Yeah.
Like empirical meaning I've gone through it. I know what works and what doesn't. And that's really where the goods are at. It's like I've empirically gone through this. Exactly what you're saying. It's like if I had to set up a podcast, my goodness, with how many gadgets and screens and cameras you have around here, I would be lost. So it's the same thing. And it's, you're experiencing this. You could come over and help me set it up like that. It's that same type of, like you said, personalized experience. So, but dude, I'd love to be on again, man. There's so many more things we could talk about.
Well, you're in LA now, brother. So
hey, that's right, brother. Hey, cheers.
There's a little now. There's a little sip.
Cool. We haven't
never cheers with an empty bottle.
That's right. We haven't even talked about cannabis yet.
Well, we did at the beginning a little bit.
I guess that's true.
No, we still can. I just have to take a leak.
Honestly, me too. So I guess let's wrap it up. We can talk about it next time.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. I know this brought value. I was gonna say I hope it did, but I know it did. And just check out this free device. Check out the video. Drop a comment how to use this shit. Get a free device. Check out the links below that Bryce got going on. Get your free $10 Bitcoin because I know I'm gonna get that shit.
Heck yeah, do it up. Appreciate y'all.
Let's vibe out.
Cheers.
This is True Buzz, that Mary Jane. Now we ain't new to this. For my stoners and for my cannabis enthusiasts, never heard a show as good as this. Yeah, number one, it's the best. Bringing in many special guests in the industry of cannabis, business owners to growers, even artists you know of.